So, Friedrich Nietzsche asserts that God is dead. But I believe that not only is God dead, I believe that he's also wrong. And then in addition to that, I believe that the way society works is fundamentally wrong as well. So, by my discrediting God and society as a whole, what could I base my morals on? Okay, and the solution I have is moral nihilism. Because I believe that by allowing culture and religion to dictate moral values is to choose a skewed perception of how we should and expect others to behave. Logically speaking, moral nihilism offers a more realistic and therefore valid assessment of moral codes than religion and culture. Okay. So, topically, I'm going to move throughout the speech with religion and then discussing culture, cultural morals, and how we project it onto others. So, most people's religious affiliations have a direct effect on their morals, like Christianity. I'm going to be presumptuous and assume that the dominant ideology that most of you have is Christianity, or some form of that. So, you have the Ten Commandments, right? And I'm pretty sure that's where most of you get your ideas of what's right or wrong, or you can infer from them. Like murder, I'm pretty sure most of you agree is fundamentally wrong, right? Right, yes. I think that why people hold religious values so strongly and apply it to their own code of ethics or morals is because of the reward and punishment system. You know, like, oh, I'm not going to kill that person, and God's going to love me even more. I'm going to go to heaven forever. Or, more than that, by having a religious figure, it gives you an authoritative power over how you view life. Like, without God, would you feel as if you had a direction or purpose in life? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think you feel that way. I don't think a lot of people would feel that way. So, anyway, that's why I think that religion dictates people's morals, or at least holds a pretty strong grasp on them. But even without religion, I think that the idea of a universal code of ethics is prevalent because of how society forms them as well. I think it's innate for human beings to want to gain a sense of understanding of the world. So that's why they have these morals and these rules, because if you don't have them, I think a lot of people would agree that the result would be chaos. So, anyway, more so than religion, I think that cultural standards have a more profound impact on how a person determines what's morally right or wrong. Like, I think people tend to ignore the more controversial aspects of religious texts, like the Bible. Like I said, a lot of you would agree that murder is wrong, but in Genesis 22, chapter 22, verse 9, it starts with, when they reached the place God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and raised the wood on top of it, or the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood, which leads to the testing of his faith. God asked Abraham to kill his son to test his loyalty, right? I think culturally speaking, we see that as pretty wrong. We probably imprisoned Abraham for doing that now. And Lot, the story of Lot sleeping with his daughters in Genesis 19, verse 36, it says, so both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father, which they got him drunk and slept with him. Incest is a pretty bad thing according to society. So anyway, so you see from these two things it's conflicting. Religious and societal morals are very conflicting. Also, earlier this semester, I don't know if you guys remember, but there were like these two guys out in front, and they had this big old sign that was pretty much just everyone is going to hell, or God hates them, or something to that extent. And a lot of the students on campus, they reacted really abrasively towards them, or really obnoxiously, you know. But in the Bible, it says in Leviticus that if a man lies with a man and a woman lies with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They must be put to death, or blood will be on their own head. So you're criticizing them for taking a literal translation, or, you know, for applying exactly what the Bible says to their own life and how they view others. But many students were outraged by this, I think, because of the cultural shift to accepting homosexual relationships or whatever. Also, this kind of ties in with David's speech about ethnocentrism. Professor Hogan Garcia of Boston University, he has a PhD in sociology. He contends that there are no definite societal standards on which to judge our and others' behavior. So, like David was saying, we can't really say that our society has better morals than another. I mean, if you think about it, it doesn't really make logical sense, does it? You're kind of just asserting your opinion on another culture. Anyway, ethnocentrism inevitably leads to conflict within societies and societies surrounding them. So I think from both of these we can infer that they're conflicting, and neither really represents an absolute truth or a solution to the moral problem of what is fundamentally right or wrong, or universally right or wrong. So, moral nihilism. Professor Bergerath explains moral nihilism. This is in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. He explains it to be the rejection of all knowledge as substantive moral belief, which is to say that morals are non-existent. So, in considering that religious and societal morals are often conflicting, one could propose the idea that neither should be considered objectively definite or valid. And since we can conclude that they're indefinite, you can also conclude that they're forced into existence by our inherent nature to find order within the world, hence religion and the societal norms and morals. So, by retaining those moral values that we've forced upon ourselves, you're being ignorant of a more accurate understanding of the world. I mean, throughout our lives, we're constantly pursuing a logical order or logic in our life. I mean, why do we go to school? We go to school so we can learn and understand how things operate. We have scientists, you know, like trying to figure out how the universe works. There's a Big Bang theory to try to explain that, or God to try to explain that. I mean, people are constantly pursuing these things, these frameworks to fit morals and understanding to. So, I don't know, I think pretty conclusively come to the idea that forcing morals, or forcing the idea of morals on people or on society is pretty silly, considering that they don't come from anything valid or definite. So as everyone moves towards an objective understanding of reality, it's only logical to accept the view that most facilitates this goal. So moral nihilism, the only accurate perception of reality, is incredible. Ruth Benedict, who's a more modern philosopher, I guess, states that morality is a convenient term for socially approved habits. And I don't really think that you can see that anything other than that.
Excuse me.